So let's get started with this. How many of you text? Okay, so friends and family, right? All right. So how many of you text for business purposes at all? You do? 2, 4. Text on your smartphone? Yes? Okay. How many of you would agree with this? This is Mark Zuckerberg saying, you should be able to message a business like you message a friend. Do we agree with this statement or no? Kind of on the fence a little bit? Okay. How many of you are guilty of this? Not guilty, guilty is a bad word, but how many of you have ever done this? Right? Does this resonate? Okay. This is becoming more and more common. Texting is actually the #1 feature that is used on a smartphone, more so than calling, than emailing, than accessing the internet. And so it's time for us to really consider, what could this channel mean from a business perspective? And so I want to kind of take a little pause right here before I go any further and share with you what my friend Jay says, who I totally am in alignment with. Relevancy is the killer app. It's even more important in this particular channel because we have this connection with our smartphones, right? They're our personal devices. There's something 87% of people say never leave their sides, okay? But they're the one device that they use more than any other. So there's a huge opportunity here to engage our customers. Now, B2C has used text messaging way more than B2B. I'm here to tell you that I think there's a huge opportunity in B2B for text messaging, and I'm going to show you some ways it can work. We'll also talk about text messaging in a way that any kind of company could use. There's a variety. I mean, the possibilities are really endless. I had a hard time trying to streamline this down into what would fit into a session of this length. But the one thing that I want to set up for you today is that usually when I bring up text messaging from a business perspective, people still think of the smartphone, right? They'll grab their phone. I should have my phone. I feel weird doing this. People will grab their phone and go, why would I want a text message for business on my phone? I'm not talking about your phone. I'm talking about an automation platform, just like marketing automation, except it's for text messaging. Okay, so a business tool integrated with your CRM system that allows you to create structured workflows, automated message flows, bulk sends, just the same kinds of things you do with your marketing automation, only so much more. So we're going to talk about it from that perspective, but I want to frame that for you so you're not thinking about it as a smartphone application from your side as a marketer. Okay? So research is coming out, has been coming out the last few years about businesses adopting text messaging and also surveying customers about text messaging. And as you'll see on the slide, 85% of customers prefer text, which goes back to, sorry, I didn't answer my phone, I don't use it for that, right? So customers are preferring text. There are surveys out there that say they want to be able to text with businesses, right? And 98% of smartphone users text daily. So here's the thing. They don't have to sign up for a platform like Facebook or WhatsApp. They don't have to do any of that. They don't have to learn a new process. It's intuitive. They use it today, right? But here's the thing. Only 14% of businesses communicate with their customers by text. Now, I'm sure this percentage is up a little bit because AT&T did this survey a couple years ago, so it's up a little bit. But the thing that I find fascinating is out of those 14% of businesses, 85% of them found that their customers preferred text communications with them. So there's a huge validation for using texting for business purposes. And I would stipulate that as we go through this and you look at the different ways you can use texting, to also think about it from different perspectives. For example, there are applications for marketing, there are applications for sales, there are obviously applications from a service perspective. You could use text messaging to engage at every stage of the buying process, which becomes more and more important when we are challenged to create better and better customer experiences. across our entire customer relationships. So keep an open mind as you think about that. Now let's talk about messaging, because here's one of the things that's fascinating to me. Messaging is an interactive engagement channel, okay? So we have been talking as content marketers, we've been talking about interactive content, like interactive infographics, different types of interactive content, which usually ends up being summarized by things as surveys or quizzes or, things like that. Messaging is interactive from a customer perspective first. So for example, your customers are actually saying to you, let me initiate the conversation with you when I want to talk to you, right? Let me do that in a channel that is natural for me, that I know how to use, that takes less effort, but where I'm going to get a fast response. So I don't know if you've noticed this lately or not, but customer expectations are changing. They're becoming more demanding. And as they have better consumer experiences, they are requiring the same kind of experiences from B2B brands. Because all of our buyers are consumers at the end of the day. Those experiences don't just dissipate when they walk into the office and they go, okay, I'm a business professional now, so I can't have the same thing that I have when I'm over here as a consumer. That doesn't happen. So we have to start crossing, merging those channels together. We have to start thinking about how do we create better and better experiences. And text messaging is a channel that will allow you to do that. So one of the things that we have been trying to get closer to from a marketing perspective is one-to-one, real-time, on-demand experiences. We have to get better at that. As marketers, we tend to plan our campaigns, right? How many touches are in your nurture program? It took you 3-4 months to plan that, create the content, figure out what frequency you were going to send your touches out at. We are orchestrating things based on what we want to see happen rather than what they want to see happen, right? In their time frame, in their perspective. So the ability to have this business tool that will allow you to create on-demand experiences when your customers are demanding them, not because you are, because they are, is a huge game changer. It's convenient for them. It's less effort because they know how to do it. Texting is easy for them. They prefer it. And texting gives you the opportunity to be contextually relevant. So that kind of nirvana thing that we've been hearing about forever, like we need to contact the right people at the right time with the right content in the right channel. Texting gives you the ability to finally do that, which I think is pretty impressive. But not only is texting good for your customers, it's good for your business, right? Because if you do it correctly, you're not only going to create more engagement, but you're building stronger relationships because you're having this interaction with them that is so much more relevant than a lot of what they may have experienced in the past in their interaction with brands, which of course leads to increased revenue. But one of the biggest things for me is better insights, more depth in insights, more ability to get to that one-to-one where you can differentiate based on that. So as validation for the value of text messaging, I think this slide says a lot. People will pay more, they will feel more positive towards your brand, and they will choose a product supported by mobile messaging over one that's not. Talk about an ability for differentiation in a saturated marketplace where a lot of our products are commodities in the eyes of our buyers, where it's hard to differentiate. This channel, this ability to build these relationships with our customers and prospects can be a differentiator for our companies. I also want to point out, in case you think I'm making all of this up, that there's been a huge growth in SMS text messaging. In B2B, 197% in the last 2 years. This is research from Salesforce, their State of Marketing report from 2017. Even in B2C, the use of SMS text messaging has grown 92%. So these are the top channels for growth in both B2B and B2C. The only thing beating text messaging in B2B right now is video advertising. So there's a lot of potential here. Mobile apps are below SMS text messaging. And I would say the reasons for that could be many, but one of them is if you create a mobile app, the only way it works is if you can get people to go download it, right? They don't have to do that with SMS. It's built into every smartphone that's on the market, and even the phones that are not smartphones have it, right? They don't need the internet to be able to text message with you. It goes through the cell service, okay? And they know how to use it. So instead of spending all the money to build a mobile app, when you have a platform that can allow you to orchestrate messaging, create automated workflows, similarly as you would do in your marketing automation, why wouldn't you do that instead? And we're going to talk about how you orchestrate these flows and how you control them as we go forward. But the other thing too is, and I know all of you, I'm sure, have heard about this surge in talking about chatbots. Yes? Yes? Well, text messaging, given the platforms and the ability to create automated flows, gives you a way to test out what would a chatbot be like? What would it do? You can tweak your automations before you go to the trouble and expense of building your own chatbot, right? Because SMS text messaging can mimic a chatbot. And chatbots, it come to find out, are really good at completing simple tasks. And you could actually set up these automated workflows within your text messaging, but it gives you a way to test these things out. And more SMS text messaging platforms are adding AI to help improve on these things. Or you may choose to say, okay, we have created these standard workflows that work really well from a chatbot perspective. Now let's build our chatbots. So think about it as a testing ground for that as well. Now here's the kicker that really gets to me every time. In every research report that you see for marketing, usually B2B marketing, but marketing in general, email is the #1 most effective channel for most marketers. And they keep saying it again and again, year after year. I see this come up in the research reports, right? But look at the average open and click-through rates. This is the best channel we got, and we're getting 22% and 6% click-through. The 22% open, who cares? That doesn't mean anything. Nothing's happening. 6% click-through, and we're going to say that is our best channel. It's time for that to change. That's not good enough. Are you willing to settle for 6% and say this is my best channel and this is good enough? And maybe yours is a little better, okay, 10%, 12%. But sustainably over time, what you find is a nearly perfect open rate for a text message. 97% are opened. 36% click-through, that's 6 times the click-through you get with email. And most of the response is in less than 5 minutes. Or email could take 90 minutes, 5 days, 5 months, whatever, when they find you in the bottom of their inbox. The thing to recognize about email, if you think, well, I can improve my email, I can get better at it and all of this, is that out of all the emails sent globally, every day, 30.6% of those emails are opened. And the only reason I think that percentage is higher than this percentage is because this percentage is predicated on business emails. I think the difference is personal, family emails, whatever, right? But I mean, that's as good as it's going to get. This channel is, I mean, let's face it, my inbox is a dumping ground. I don't know about yours. And I opt out. You know, I unsubscribe repeatedly, and stuff still keeps getting added into it, right? And so it's become a less effective form of communication. And so text now, if we don't ruin it, right, is a much better response. KPMG did some research. It's called Me, My Life, My Wallet, I believe. It's a report that just came out, and they did this huge research study to look at the trends in communication and perspective for consumers all around the world. So they looked at all the different countries. And what they found that I thought was pretty interesting is that across the different countries, people are engaging with their smartphones, but they are looking at them all the time. Within, I think it's the statistic is 87% of millennials will look at their smartphone at least once every 10 minutes, even if a notification doesn't go off. The other interesting thing that they found was that people are looking at their smartphones out of boredom. So they're picking, how many times you've been in a meeting, you think, please, somebody text me, this is really bad, you know, or you're under the table texting somebody else, right, during a meeting or whatever it is. But we are looking at our smartphones. I've had people almost walk into me because they're walking down the street doing this, right? We're always on our smartphones. So if we can figure out a way to be really, really relevant, it's going to make a huge difference in how we communicate. The other thing that's really interesting is that you would think that it would be the millennials, the Generation Z, you know, those kinds of young people who would be texting, right? Oh, no. What we're finding is, of course, yes. What we're finding is, in the research, is that baby boomers text at almost the same rate as younger people. You want to know why? Because they're being influenced by younger generations. Parents are saying the only way they can talk to their kids is if they text them, right? In other countries where kids stay at home longer and support the family, APAC countries, different things like that, they're teaching their parents and their grandparents how to text. Heck, I'm 58 next month and I text all the time, mostly because my clients text me all the time, so I have to. But I do text with my friends. My mother's 90, she texts me. I almost fell over one day when I got the first text from her. I thought, who taught her how to do that? But, you know, it works across a variety of different generations. And so if you're thinking that you're selling a B2B complex sale to somebody who's, you know, a male in their 50s and they didn't grow up with this and they're not going to be responsive to it, get over it. Because their younger colleagues are texting, their kids are probably texting them, you know, we're all using it. And so we need to really pay attention to how the trends are changing the way that we embrace technology.